right. So, well, we're going to be now finally, we did 2 sections out of the 4 sections, right, of setting up the payroll setup wizard. So in this case, right, we are focusing now on setting up our taxes that we are subject to have to pay. Okay, so both employee and employer. Okay, so let's go ahead and click continue. So here it gives us a list of all the federal taxes that we are subject to have to pay, right? We must pay into Social Security, Medicare, and a bunch of other different ones that California expects us to participate in, all right? So again, there's a bunch of here that says federal right here, advanced payments, things such as CARES, which is another Social Security, and et cetera, et cetera. So these ones are obligated by the federal government. Okay, so because we're in the state of California, there's a little extra stuff that you have to do. But in this case, it's just focusing on just the federal ones, and these are all of it. Okay, because we are a corporation, there's definitely a lot more stuff that you have to go through. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and click continue. All right, so then here is going to be the California taxes that you are subject to have to pay. So by clicking on the next button, the very first one that we have is an error right here for the unemployment. Okay, so here it is, this window right here for the California EDD payments. So let's take a look in our book how we need to set this one up. So let's see, taxes, right? We already took a look at our federal. Now this is our state. So here we're going to set up our first one, which is the California unemployment, which is going to be a certain percentage in this case, right? This one doesn't allow you to enter in one in, but this is just the percentage. It's about 1% for the EDD. But in here, again, it's only 0.01 because according to the way that taxes work, it's going to be in the opposite. So 0.1 is meaning, 99 or 0.99%, right? All right. And then again, right here's where you're going to have to enter in 3.4 because that's the amount of percentage that a California unemployment is. Okay, that's the common rate that is subject that we have to pay as to the state for unemployment. Okay, and then once that looks good, right, we can go ahead and click finish. Okay, so in this case, we only needed to set up that one. Okay. You can go ahead and set up all the other ones, but they were automatically because in this case, right, depending on these things right here, since they're obligated by the state, you're forced to pay anyway because of the state that you are having business in. These are the local and state taxes you are subject to pay. So again, we have disability, we have unemployment, we have withholdings, and we have employment training. Okay? All right, and then we can go ahead and click continue. Now, this is where we actually have to set up the actual federal ones, which is containing the 940, 941s, and etc., etc. So here we have it, right? What agency are you going to be paying? So this is the very first one, federal unemployment. You are going to be paying the electronic federal tax payment system, which is short known as FTP, federal, federal, it's EFTPS. There you go. Okay, the electronic federal tax payroll system, right? Mouthful, right? And how often are you going to actually pay them? In this case, you have two options. You can either pay them quarterly or annually. Now, best rule of thumb here is you should actually set up your payments in a way where you pay all of your federal and all of your state taxes all at the same time, okay? That's a rule of thumb here because, again, you definitely don't want to miss a payment because you can get very heavily fined for that. Especially when it comes with the government, you don't want to mess with them, okay? Especially when you're running a business and you owe them money for having employees. That's also a huge wave right there saying you better make sure that you pay you pay the government for having employees because it's important that you pay into their Medicare and Social Security, right, to protect the people in the United States. So in this case, you should set up in a way where you won't forget, and you can set up reminders in QuickBooks, but most cases, depending on what kind of business you are, will determine how often you need to pay. So in this case, we're a corporation, we can get away with it as far as paying them quarterly. Okay. And then I can go ahead and click next. So then here's the next one, which is saying, well, who are you going to be paying? In this case, for the state, we have here, we're going to actually make a payment to the EDD, which is the EDD, and their account number is going to be 123-45678. Okay, and once again, we're going to make a payment quarterly. Okay, so all of these agencies that I'm paying here, they're all from California. Some of them are like the EFTPS. That's actually standard for federal. But once again, this is the state here that you're going to make a state payment to the state. In this case, they're all federal. But in this case, right, you are going to have to be looking up the agencies that you are going to be making payments to. So again, that's also extra research that you have to do because I know that for this particular example, it's based off of what the California state does and who they make payments to, which is already placed into QuickBooks for you. But yes, you do need to do your research on exactly who you're going to be making these payments to. So then you can make it easier make payments through QuickBooks to make it that much easier to process your taxes, okay? Especially with the federal, the best way to get money quickly is by electronically transferring the money directly to the federal agency. So again, especially for corporations, that's the first thing that the government's going to go after is major corporations, okay? So that's where they can get the most money out of having the employees and stuff like that. So you definitely need to make sure you do your research and know exactly who you're making payments to, because I will show you how to make payments to liabilities, I believe, in chapter 11. Okay, so there you go. Next. All right, then we have here once again another another EDD here for the I believe this is the 10 or the 942. Okay, again, it's for California withholdings. So you're going to pay the EDD. The account number is 123-45678. Okay, and once again, you want to try to make them as standard as possible, or make them have all the payments as possible into one section or one time period. So I'm going to make them all quarterly. Okay. And then last but not least, you have this one right here, which is going to be setting up your California UI, which is the same one, EDD. Okay. And again, that's going to be account number 123-45678, and I'm going to make it quarterly. Okay, finish. So again, a lot of, okay, so any federal ones, I think I made the federal one to the EDD. Let me go ahead and modify that real quick. It's this one's, anything that's federal is not going to go to the EDD. It's going to go to the EFTPS. Okay, we're going to make quarterly payments. Okay. So again, right here we set up the federal 940 and 941 and all the California ones. So once you've done that, you set up who the agency you're going to make a payment to and how often. And we're going to go ahead and click continue. So that is it on setting up your taxes. So again, because the information that you put into QuickBooks, right? When we first set up our QuickBooks in the first place, we designated that we are doing business in California. So setting up the taxes makes it that much easier because, again, you're feeding information into QuickBooks, and QuickBooks takes that information and starts picking up things such as obviously the standard ones that all businesses have to pay are federal taxes, which is federal tax withholdings, Social Security, and Medicare. Those are the basic bottom lines that the federal is going to charge you, right? But because we are doing business in the state of California, they also pulled in all the state taxes that you are subject to have to pay. Okay, and then of course with your employees, that's what it is, the same thing too, because you associated that Katie lives in California. This is the taxes that she's subject to have to pay. All right. And then last but not least, we have the year-to-date section here. Once again, what you're going to do is I'm going to click continue, and it says, do you have any year-to-date information? And what you're going to do here is, because we're assuming that this business is brand spanking new, we're setting it up for the first time, and on top of that, your book doesn't have the year-to-date information for employees anyways. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click no. We do not have any year-to-date, so we can go ahead and bypass this section right here. So once again, what does the year-to-date do? It's basically entering in all the tax information, all the payment information, so that when you produce the W-2 form, it is as accurate as possible. All right, and I can go ahead and click continue. And then once again, you reach the end of the Payroll Setup Wizard, and you can go ahead and click go to Payroll Center. Okay, and here we are. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now, because we don't have a paid payroll service right now, your Employee Center will look significantly different, because as you can see, there's only 2 tabs up here, and that's it. Okay, when we dive into chapter 11, when we get to see a sample of using an Intuit payroll system or services, you're going to notice that when you go into your Employee Center, you're going to have a new 3rd tab called the Payroll Center. And that's how you pay your employees, your liabilities, and so on and so forth, and file forms. Okay, now of course, let's take a look. If I go down below, right, onto my home page, oops, I think I clicked something by accident. Your home page shows you those options right here. No, it doesn't. Let me go to my home page. Your home page shows you the options right here that you're going to have to enter in time. You're going to pay your employees, you're going to pay your liabilities, and in this case, we don't have enter forms, just because we don't have the subscription. So in this case, you'll have a 3rd one right here where it says file forms. Okay. Now, of course, with that being said, that's because we're looking at a manual payroll system, right? We just activated manual payroll. So therefore, when we actually pay our employees, we need to punch in all the calculated items in order for us to figure out how much taxes we are going to be doing, okay? As a small business, it is perfectly valid to do manual payroll systems, okay? But if you're a corporation, no, they have strict restrictions on actually doing payroll because there's a lot of taxes that you have to pay, not just only employee taxes, there's corporate taxes as well, okay, that you must be subject to have to um, pay for the employees. So there's a lot more details into that, but in this case, for this particular scenario, it still shows that I could still have the ability to pay my employees, still have the ability to pay my liabilities because this is a manual payroll system. And I'm going to show you how to manually enter in payroll on Monday. First, we're going to take a look at how you do it through QuickBooks using an easy payroll services. And I'm going to show you a contrasting version by setting up and using the manual payroll system, okay? So any questions in regards to the payroll setup wizard?
No.
Okay, so let's go back to our employee center, right? Because now I'm going to show you what's really cool and awesome about the employee center. And it's slightly different than your vendors and your customers, okay? And that's going to be setting up employee defaults. Now, first off, like I've mentioned before, when we went through that whole entire interview, you are not obligated to enter in your employees that way. You have the capabilities to do exactly what I've been teaching you in Chapter 4 and Chapter 2. You can set up an employee in your employee center by going up to the top of the window and clicking New Employee, right? And you're going to get the same kind of default similar looking form where you're going to go through each tab on the left and you're going to be filling in the information. Now, the interview was a lot more extensive, right? But in this case, right, it's consolidated to only 5 tabs. So in this case, it makes, of course, the interview was a lot more extensive. It asks you very detailed information, but all of that could be summed up just like this, okay? Now, again, it's going to be a hassle if you have 100 employees to go ahead and have to enter them in there one at a time. And especially when each employee is going to have their own separate W-4 form, of course, setting up your employees is going to take some time. However, their QuickBooks allows you to also make it a little more easier by setting employee defaults. So then when you actually set up your employees, you could set up a group of employees at a single time with set default settings. So how do I activate that? Well, you're going to go to Manage Employees, and then you have the option to set employee defaults. Okay, right here. You're going to edit / change new employee defaults. Okay, and you're going to get this window, right? So here are the settings that you can do when it comes to setting defaults, right? What can you save time on? If you are having employees, right? And let's say you're going to set up your next bench of employees, they're all hourly waged people. Well, here you go. You can save some time by saying, well, they are hourly scheduled people, right? You can even do as far as their pay period, right? I'm going to say they're bi-weekly. What class do they belong to? Let's say I'm going to hire for the new San Jose location since that company is doing so well, or that store's location is doing so well, I'm going to be hiring more employees for the San Jose location. All right. Other things I could do here is I can do earnings. So in this case, if I'm going to be setting up my hourly regular, or I'm going to take my cap locks off, hourly regular, right? They can also get hourly vacation. Okay. And that's what I can say. I can even set how much they can make. So I could say starting baseline is $15 an hour. Okay. And then again, that's just how much they can make per hour. Okay. You could even go as far as setting their additions, deductions, or benefits for the company. So it said, since they are a full-time employee, they get subject to 401k. They get both 401k deduction and, of course, 401k match. And because these employees, right, they are also sales representative. That means they are subject to get commissions as well. But in this case, it won't let commissions. Is going to go up here. My bad. Oh, there you go. Commissions. There you go. Commissions. Right? Other employee, in this case, they also get medical insurance. Okay? You can set that up. And of course, if for any reason that you want to also have default taxes, right, you could click on taxes and be able to see what they are going to be, right? Let's say a whole bunch of employees, maybe they're all single, maybe they're married, right? In this case, I would prefer you not to do this just because this part right here can vary with your employees. So setting up taxes, maybe not so. But let's say you do set up a whole bunch of employees who are single and don't have any withholdings, then you can just set them all up at once, okay? But in this case, I want to set up my sick/vacation pay, okay? So again, at the very top here is going to be sick. We don't offer sick pay, so you want to focus down at the bottom where it says vacation. So again, you want to make sure that you have beginning of the year, right? That they're going to start at 0. How many hours can they have at the beginning of the year? Okay, so accrued at the beginning of the year, I'm going to say 0. Maximum hours that they can do, I'm going to say 200 hours. All right. And then reset hour each new year. Yes. Okay. And then sick and vacation. Okay, sick and vacation hours paid. Yes. Okay. Overtime hours paid. No, because we don't offer overtime. All right. And then I could click OK. Now, again, what is a pay scheduler? A pay scheduler allows you to choose a specific date to have them pay on. So, for example, if they are on a bi-weekly type of payroll first thing, you can schedule it to have it paid every 2 weeks on Fridays. You can have it set on a specific date. But in this case, I'm going to leave that. So I'm going to leave that blank. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. All right. So I set all these defaults. Okay. So that now, the next time you enter in a new employee, you just saved a whole bunch of time in the payment option. So here, by clicking payroll options, this section is already filled out for you. It fills out that saying that you're going to get paid bi-weekly, and it's going to be a San Jose location worker. You see right here, you already set that they get hourly regular and they get paid $15 an hour. And then again, commissions is 10%. All right. And so on and so forth. What benefits do they get? They get to have the ability to have a 401k plan as well as a medical plan. All right. So that is how you set employee default. So then the next time you enter in an employee, you save yourself a whole entire tab. The only thing that you have to put in here is anything that's on the W-4 form. So again, each employee has a different amount of what they want to withhold. All right. They have different marital statuses. Okay. So again, each individual has their own individual different pieces of information that you have to put in there manually. Okay. All right. And here's the cool thing about that too. You can change your employee defaults at any given time. So for example, maybe my next 10 people are hourly regular, right? I can go back and reset it. So then the next batch of employees that I put in here are going to be my salary wage workers. All right? So here's the rule though. It will not change any pre-existing employee that you've already entered in prior to setting employee defaults. So let's say I added Mike, I added Mary, I added Drew. None of those people that you've already entered in without using the employee setup or employee default is not going to change. It's not going to set those up. It's only any new employee that you put in after you set your default changes. So that's why I was mentioning, right? You could set the default settings now to have regular workers, do a whole bunch of them, and then go back and change it again to salaries. And then every new employee that you enter in there is going to be a salary worker. All right. So that's QuickBooks way to help you manage your employees and enter them in quickly in QuickBooks. All right. Any questions in regards to employee defaults?
No.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next few sections here since we talked about setting up employee defaults. Now, the next section here, so this part here is going to be talking about how you can edit your payroll items. So, as I've mentioned before, right? Now that we just did so here, setting up payroll items. Okay, we already talked about custom fields. So here, setting up payroll items. Oh, here's these defaults. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Okay, so once again, when we talked about how that whole entire payroll list, right? If you guys remember, so if I go to list and I click on payroll items, right? If you guys remember from the very beginning of class, we only had maybe less than 10 items on there. Look, this is what happens when you go through the payroll setup. You're essentially creating your payroll items. Now, in this case, this is one, how you can either add any extra payroll items without going through the whole interview again. You could set it up just exactly like this by doing it manually. By going down to the bottom of the window, clicking payroll items, and entering a new item. So let's say, for example, in your book, it gives you an example on how to do it. It's very straightforward in regards to setting up the item itself, where you go through the questions again, filling it in, but not through the same thing as the interview. It's going to be a little different here. In this case, if I click on new, right, this is where it gives you this window here. And it basically says next, and you just basically answered the questions here to set up a new payroll item. Now, in this case, this one's a little more, not as extensive because you're getting the same exact questions that you were asked through the interview. But in this case, this is in case you're not quite sure what you're adding in here. You're just adding in things through this window. Then it's just going to basically go through a series of questions and you answer it. And you fill in any agencies that you have to pay, especially if it's the federal, if it's the state, the EDD, and et cetera, et cetera. So in this case, I'm not going to walk you through this because, again, it's pretty easy to set up. All right. And then again, you can even edit your payroll items. Maybe you accidentally forgot to add something in something. So you're able to either right click it and be able to edit the information, or go down to the bottom of the window and be able to edit the payroll item. Okay. Straightforward in regards to this section here. Okay. But yes. Okay. Again, I'm not going to go over it. So you can go ahead and follow in the book if you want to do an example. Again, it would just ask you extensive more questions about the payroll item that you're setting up. Okay. Now again, editing payroll items, we can skip that. Okay, and then last section we have is what happens when we have an employee and they have release it, or when we release our employees, right? there is a section where you can edit that information. And again, you're going to go through your Employee Center to set up that section where you need to, have their set up their release dates and et cetera, information like that. So managing your employees, right? We're talking about release dates, release information. Again, like I said, every employee, so let's go to the Employee Center real quick. Okay, and let's say we have this, right? Each employee also has the capabilities for you to attach any, files that you need for them. So again, your W-4 form can go here. And any release documents too. So again, if I say maybe I terminated Katie. For any reason I terminated her, I would have to go through this section to go ahead and fill out her termination release information in here. Okay. And once again, you need to also click, let me see, employee release. So you have to go ahead and fill out the information, and you have to make the employee inactive. So again, every section has a place for you to inactivate an employee so that they don't appear on your payroll list to pay them, because you definitely don't want to pay employees that don't exist. So that's a good way that you can do that. But another thing about the release date itself, it allows you to basically write them off of the entire list itself. Because if you don't put the release date in there, it will basically have the information that, so right here, you're going to be able to fill out the release information here. Okay. Now again, if you do not do it, and you, if you don't do it and you just place your employee in there, yes, you could accidentally write them a check for that reason. So that's why they want you to make sure when you do manage your employees and you do terminate them, you do fill in the information about their status, about their release dates, and etc. Okay, and of course, you definitely want to make sure that you inactivate them. Okay, that's all that section talks about managing your employees. Okay. And I believe that is it. Okay, we have payroll services we'll talk about in chapter 11. So you can, let me see, other reports that you can do, okay, for payroll. For this one, especially because we didn't do much into payroll. We won't talk about that more so until chapter 11, okay, where we actually dive in on how to use the payroll items. The only report that you're able to do is going to be the employee contact list. So again, you're going to go to lists and you're going to have the employee contact list. All right, that's the most you could do for today. So here you have Katie. You have all of her information. Again, that's because we only set up one employee, okay? So that's pretty much it in chapter 10, all right? We'll talk more into details in chapter 11 on Monday, okay? So any questions here? No questions? No questions?
No, not for me.
Okay. So again, I skipped over adding a payroll item and editing a payroll item. So again, once again, that's, like I said, it's straightforward. You're just going to go through the questions that it asks and answer the questions and fill them out. nothing hard. There's no extra information that you need to know besides how to add a new item. Okay. So if that's the case, then let's go ahead and go over the review questions. Okay, so once again, we're going to go over the multiple choice. So here you go. Please select the best answer for the following. Okay. Okay, so number 1. All right. Okay, an easy and convenient way to process payroll in QuickBooks for employees on different payroll schedules would be to, okay.
B. B as in boy.
B as in boy is correct. Use the payroll scheduler. Now, here is really funny. In QuickBooks, you won't be able to see the payroll scheduler because you don't have the payroll service. You need to have the payroll service in order to use the payroll scheduler, because that way you can see a calendar and it allows you to set reminders on when you have to make your payments. So the funny thing about this is that in chapter 11, they talk about the payroll scheduler, but you can't have access to it unless you have a payroll service. So that's what sucks right there. So you have to be able to use the calendar on QuickBooks and manually be able to remind yourself you have to pay your employees. All right. Now, the payroll scheduler. So if you have someone who's a salary earning, right, they have the capability to get paid on semi-monthly, right, every 15 and at the end of every month. While a regular worker has the capability to use a bi-weekly, so they get paid every 2 weeks. Now, again, you don't have to force them to be on one single payroll schedule. Of course, that would make life more easier, but in reality, yes, you can have multiple employees. You can even have, your 1099 contractors get paid every week. Okay? So yes, the payroll scheduler, there was that little section on how to use it, which is basically setting up when the date that they're going to be scheduled to pay, right? But you don't get to see that calendar and your list of when you have to make a payment for them until you have the payroll services, right? Was that a question? No?
No, it seems like somebody turned on their mic and accidentally.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, keep your mic on, because question number 2 is, which of the following payroll periods is not an option in QuickBooks?
D. C. Well.
Okay, so the answer is D.
Mm.
Okay, so if you remember when we were setting up Katie's frequency, how much pay her, right? You do have the option to pay quarterly, right? Every 3 months. Now, of course, in a realistic world, quarterly is not something that someone can get by with, but it is an available option, right? Bi-weekly, of course, is one of the common ones that most businesses use, right? Bi-weekly, they get paid every 2 weeks. Daily. Now, if you remember, I selected, or when you do the drop-down menu, the very first one says as needed. In parentheses, it says daily. So in this case, yes, you can pay them daily. It's just selected as needed. Okay? And of course, there is no one in the world that wants to get paid every 6 months. So in this case, semi-annually is going to be the correct answer here. Okay? Number 3, which payroll item cannot be created in the payroll setup interview?
D.
D, you can create all items above during the payroll setup interview. Yes, you can. And again, like I've mentioned before, if you are setting up a new item, you can absolutely go 100% back to the payroll setup interview if you do not want to do it manually through the little window down below. Okay? So yes, you can do it that way too. You can add a new one if you'd like. Right? Number 4. Which is not an option when setting up the account period for sick and vacation pay? So this one you had to pay really close attention.
B.
B is correct, every month. So in this case, right, you're not going to be setting up the accrual. Oh, I said it the wrong word. The accrual for the period for sick and vacation pay. You're not going to have it reset every month. That's ridiculous. If you're going to reset that they can have 200 hours every single month, they're never going to come to work. You know what I mean? So definitely, every month is not an option. Okay. Number 5, the payroll setup interview will not allow you to D, add 2 employees with the exact same name. So, yes, this rule applies to both vendor, customer, and employee, even including other names, because in this case, QuickBooks is going to, okay, so QuickBooks has some kind of system, right? And in this kind of system, it only recognizes a person's name and that's it. They don't pick up any other information, even if you have a different social security number. No, and that's the thing about QuickBooks is that's the fault there is that if you type in the exact same name, it's going to think that it is this person instead of that person. So unfortunately, you do, if you have a possibility of having an employee with the same exact name, you're going to have to either make some kind of differentiate between the 2 employees, right? So that's why they give you the option to have a middle initial, a middle name. In other cases, you can have, if they are father and son, usually they have the 3rd or the 2nd or senior or junior, something like that, okay? So unfortunately, because the advancements of QuickBooks, it can't just be able to pull information based on Social Security, right? Unfortunately, it can only pull up information by name. Okay. All right, number 6. You enter the federal ID for your company. Why is it so important that you need to have a federal tax ID number?
So that you don't use your own. You don't have to use your own social security number.
Yes and no.
To identify your company.
To identify your company for what purpose?
Tax purposes.
Absolutely 100% correct. Yes. It's a way that the IRS is able to recognize you as a company, but also to find a way to link you to file taxes that way. So in this case, to answer the question, where do you enter the federal ID for your company?
Letter B as in boy.
On step 3 of your payroll setup interview, set up company information. Did we ever see setting up your federal ID number in there?
Yeah, we did.
Mm,
It asked for your EIN number.
when did they ask me for that?
That was in the interview.
Which interview?
The not the easy one. The first one.
Nah, I don't
No?
remember doing that one. It was just more so just setting up your accounts. So B is not the correct answer.
It's C.
C, in the company information window.
Okay.
Yes, so again, this is, I don't know why they have this in there, but yes, it is in this company information window. Okay. All right, number 7, use a payroll deduction item to track medical insurance cost when
A.
A, correct. when the employees pay part or all of the cost. Yes, because again, this medical insurance is going to be a deduction that takes away from their paycheck, right? You still have to create one, even if you pay part of it or the company pays for all of it. You still need to, or I'm sorry, if the employee pays for some of it or pays for all of it, you do need to create that because you need to be able to subtract that out from their paycheck. Okay. Number 8, which of the following would QuickBooks exclude from taxable earnings when calculating federal withholdings?
D.
Letter D for number 8 is correct. Employees' contributions to 401k. Good. Right. Number 9. Okay. Why are there two Medicare and two Social Security items in the payroll items list?
C as in Charlie.
C as in Charlie is correct because QuickBooks tracks both the employee and the employer's portion to those separately. Yes, right? Because in this case, right, if the employee is going to be paying into their Social Security and Medicare, it is the company's obligation to also put the same exact amount to match them 100% for the Social Security and Medicare. So they need to find some kind of method to calculate that separately. So then when you pay them, it's both the employer and the employee's portion. So good. Okay. Number 10. Okay. Which of the following is not a feature of QuickBooks standard payroll services? So in this case, this is something you need to do in your reading.
C.
C is correct, right? Automatically calculating federal, state, and some locals taxes by using the tax tables supplied. Wait, you said C, right? I'm reading D, my bad. Calculating and electronically remitting the federal payroll tax liabilities using the EFTPS. So again, that is something that it does not do. All right. D, yes, it does do that, right? The payroll services does automatically calculate all the federal taxes. It also keeps track of individual employees for hours and working, right? We do that through timesheets. And again, it also writes and prints out paychecks on standard checks. Yes, it does. Okay, so again, I don't know why they mentioned it here because you're not processing payroll. This is more a chapter 11 type of question because chapter 11, I'm going to show you all of these things, right? Except for the timesheet. The timesheet was already showed in chapter 9. I'm going to show you how to write a check and print it out on standard paper. I'm going to show you how to use the payroll services to automatically calculate all the taxes that are subject for each employee and employer all in one go. Okay, so this answer here, number 10, what does it not do is C. Okay. Number 11, QuickBooks uses payroll items to
D.
D. All of the above, yes. Okay, so QuickBooks uses payroll items to accurately accumulate payroll liabilities. That's correct. Again, to track each different kind of compensations. Yes, right. If you have a salary, a wage, or a commission-based worker, it's all there. Okay, and again, it does define the relationship between items that you put on paychecks and the chart of accounts. So yes, remember that's why it was important that you set up your chart of accounts because when we set up our payroll items, we had to link them to the exact payroll account. So it does link them together. Yes. Okay. Number 12, if you no longer wanted an employee to show in the select employees to pay list, what do you need to do?
C.
C. Let's see what this is number 12. Yes, C is correct. You're going to enter in a release date and then You're going to enter in a release date in the employee's record. Okay? Inactivating them is not going to do much, right? Like I've mentioned before, you must put a release date for them to just completely get off of your payroll list. Okay. Number 13, which of the following payroll options does not require you to sign up for an Intuit payroll service?
A.
A is correct. A manual payroll. Okay, because yes, and again, I'm going to show you the difference between that on Monday. We're going to take a look at using the payroll services, and then the difference between that and actually using the manual payroll system. So again, QuickBooks can do both if you do not want to subscribe to Intuit's payroll services. Okay. Last question here, because this one only has 14. Okay, to set up a local tax, okay, for employees that are not supported by QuickBooks, what do you do?
D.
D, A, or B. Okay, you are gonna choose the other tab underneath the tax defaults, and then B, set up new payroll items, and then select other taxes. Okay, so yes, again, a local tax. I didn't talk about this, but it should be one of the sections when you do your reading about setting up that tax itself under what taxes or benefits that you have. So local taxes, once again, it's not a standard tax, right? Because not every city, county, local agency will have a special tax. So you do have to locate it under other tax. So this, again, you would know this answer by reading. Right? All right, and that is it for chapter 10. Any questions in regards to chapter 10?